Warning, Star Trek from the Holodeck contains adult language and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not continue to listen.
Lock and load!
Fire!
Holodeck 3 program is reinstated.
Open sesame!
Commander Klingon vessel. We are energizing transporter beam. Now.
Warp 1, engage!
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Star Trek from the Holodeck, the Discovery Edition. If you're new to our show, I am Michael Flores, your host and captain. I sit on the captain's seat. On, not in, on the captain's seat. And at the helm is Ensign Sabal.
Hello, Captain.
Hello. All right. So today, you and I, Dave, are going to be discussing and breaking down the 11th episode of Season 2, Perpetual Infinity. And Dave, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things.
I got my tinfoil ready.
I know you do. I know you do. We're going to get there, David. The synopsis is Burnham receives the reunion she's been longing for, but it doesn't go quite as she imagined. Georgiou, sexy Georgiou. And sexy Tyler, too, by the way. Like, what's up with his hair this season, right?
Dude.
It's GQ.
It's GQ.
I want that haircut.
I want that haircut and that beard.
Yeah, man. Dude, that's the way you wear a beard, man. He's a man. So Georgiou and Tyler sense a disturbing change in Leland, which will probably, no doubt, be the segment where David puts on his tinfoil cap.
Oh, yeah. I got my tinfoil hat ready.
Yeah. All right, so after this week's episode, we have only 3 episodes left, and I think fans of Discovery better get buckled up. I don't think any of us really know how this is going to end. Sure, we have theories, but the story progression, pacing, and attention to detail doesn't allow our minds to rest on any one theory. There's just so much in the works this year that you get the idea they're not just working towards the obvious, but setting up a bigger story that involves the bigger picture of Star Trek.
Yes.
We have 3 episodes left. And I'm not saying that's as a bad thing, but there's so much world building they've done that I can't imagine it just coming to an abrupt end. I almost feel like there's going to be several question marks at the end of this season. They're definitely going to bring resolve to the season. Absolutely. But I think at the same time, there's going to be question marks. It's going to have that classic TNG best of both worlds type ending. Maybe not a cliffhanger, but it will have, oh shit, what does this mean? And we may go back to it in season 3, or we may just all know what it means.
Yeah.
And I know I'm speaking in riddles right now, but I'm going to get to this in a second.
But that's what made Star Trek, all those classic Star Trek moments great, is like it's open interpretation by the audience. Yeah. I mean, that's just Roddenberry 101 there.
Well, that's also just art. It's very interpretive, and everybody sees something a little different. But I think we are going to be right, Dave. I think we've been on it this season. We've done pretty good. Some of our theories have been pretty wild and out there. But
most of those are mine.
Yes. But Dave, but you're not like those idiots that put out those headlines, those hyperbolic headlines. Oh, could this be Q? Well, you are a Q fan. Okay, maybe I should backtrack just a bit.
I was about to say.
Maybe you are that guy. But for the most part, our theories are grounded, at least in Star Trek lore and Star Trek canon. We're not pulling things out of our ass that just does not make sense.
Yeah, we try to follow the breadcrumbs that are laid, not by other stories, but by what we're seeing in the Discovery on the screen.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you have Burnham's story, right? Which is essentially the foundation of the Season 2 myth arc. But then you have the realignment of Trek canon as they move iconic pieces into place. We, of course, as an audience, are privy to Spock's growth in a way we've never thought we needed, but now it feels essential to understanding Spock. This is how you do those types of origin stories without retconning or destroying what came before. taking what we know of Spock and giving us a prequel-ish story that actually makes sense to who we know he becomes.
Yeah.
Setting Pike up on his path along with his destiny aboard the Enterprise. But it also feels like they are moving pieces into place for the Section 31 spinoff series. And Dave, I have a feeling Georgiou and Ash will be paired up in that series. Especially,
I think so.
Yeah, especially after she told Ash that she's trusting him and that their entire relationship is essentially going to be decided on whether or not she can trust him.
Yeah.
Like, why are they doing that 11 episodes in unless these two are leads in
going to be
Section
the leads
31.
in the Section 31.
Dude, how sexy is that show going to be? That's just too much. I don't think I can take it.
You're going to have Michelle Yeoh and then Ash Tyler. That's a lot of sexy goodness.
Yeah. But dude, after this episode, I got really fucking excited for Section 31, man. I was like, shit, this could be really cool. Especially with how attached we are to these characters. And except for Miles O'Brien and Worf later on, we've never had a direct spinoff before. Meaning characters that were built up in a big way in one show, and then they end up having their own show. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I was thinking about it just a second ago. And I'm like going, yeah, you're right. There has not been a Star Trek spinoff that I could think of.
Yeah.
That basically the characters started one and
let's
then
go
the
through
other.
them. TNG, completely new. Deep
Yes.
Space Nine, Miles O'Brien was the bleed over, but
he wasn't the main.
he was pretty background.
He was background.
Worf came in around season 4. Then you had Voyager, completely new people. They use similar ideas and themes. So we already discussed that in our Patreon shows about the evolution of the Maquis and how it started way back in season 3 of TNG. So they pulled those things and it felt very seamless how they connected those two shows together. And then, of course, Enterprise. So nothing has been a direct spinoff. Yes, they are considered spinoffs, but not like what we are going to be getting with Section 31 with Georgiou.
Yeah.
Which, dude, that's an instant built-in audience right there. Or you already have the Trek audience who's going to tune in. Then you have the people who are watching Discovery like, shit, I gotta watch the Georgiou and Ash Tyler series now. So it's pretty smart what they're doing. Now, also, we have the mystery of the Red Angel and the Red Signals. The Red Angel has been revealed, but the Red Signals has not entirely been revealed to us. We had all assumed that the Signals and the Angel were in cahoots or connected in some way, and they could be connected, but according to Burnham's mother, she knows nothing about that. So that's happening, yes, in connection to her in some way, but it's not directly connected to Dr. Burnham's journey of making sure the AIs of the future don't destroy mankind, or I should say civilization.
Yes.
So we got a lot on our plate, and I'm really excited with what they're doing with it. All right, so Dave, because we don't have any real relevant news this week to get into, Dave, let's just jump right into our discussion.
Okay.
And firstly, we need to backtrack our statements from last show about the origins of this AI threat, because we were right the first time. We were. The previous episode kind of made us doubt what we were saying about the AI, but it was more clear in this episode, and Control is the actual threat. Section 31's creation is, in fact, the very thing that does evolve into the AI.
Yes.
That will wipe out all sentient life. And Control is able to do this because of the knowledge that was given to Starfleet by the Red Sphere.
Yes.
Without that knowledge, Control would not be able to evolve.
That was a big thing.
Or I should say, yes, without that knowledge, they would not be able to evolve. So we were right the first time.
Yes. Now, should I go into my tinfoil hat moment?
Oh, okay, hold on. Hold on. Jesus, David, you're just, come on.
Well, you're talking about the Control. You're talking.
Hey, at least lube me up first, okay? Now, that aspect is the cornerstone of this week's narrative, because with that reveal hatches a plan to send the Red Angel along with the Red Sphere's knowledge so far into the future that the AI can never essentially get to it, because it would be in perpetual infinity.
Yes.
Now, I have to say, this that this entire bit probably has been the best way Trek has ever tackled time travel. It actually made sense. And I did love...
I have to agree with you with that one. That it made sense.
It made sense. There was a lot of techno babble, but they're not trying to confuse us so much with techno babble that we just accept it.
And on top of that, they're not going out of left field, like, say, going around the sun to actually time travel.
Listen, David, that was a very accurate depiction of how time travel works, okay?
You don't go around the sun.
Well, okay, around the Earth then, like Superman? Does that work? That doesn't work
Go
either?
reverse time and basically start flying as fast as you can.
All right. So I did love the Spock aspect where he said, I love science, with that little smirk, because it represented how I felt at the end of that scene when they concocted that elaborate plan. I was like, damn, fair enough. Science is cool.
Yeah, science is cool.
Yeah. All right, Dave. So please don't gloat. But this episode strengthened your idea again. That we could, in fact, be dealing with the Borg. And wipe that smirk off your face. And Dave, I don't know if people are listening to our show, which I do. Well, first of all, I do know people are listening to our show. Now, I don't know if people are, like, blogs are listening to us and then taking our ideas, or it's becoming more apparent because tons of headlines. I have Google Alerts. What I do to track people that may be listening to our show and then posting things is I put keywords in my Google Alerts that are directly connected to things we've said in our show. And then when they are said, they are emailed to me. This week is the first week that I received countless emails from blogs across the interwebs that said, could Section 31 be the true origin of the Borg? So we are on the right path. And at the very least, the writers of Discovery are fucking with us, knowing that's what we would think. And that's fine, because that's proper misdirection. If that's what they're trying to do and say, hey guys, this is the Borg. Just joking.
Just joking.
This is how you do it, and it works. Now, I'm not saying I believe this to be the case necessarily, but I can see it now, especially after the AI's explanation of how hard it is for them to do what? Mimic human behavior. Yeah. They said that there's an aspect to humans that they aren't able to get quite right. And then what did we see this AI do? They essentially assimilated Leland.
Yep.
The AI version of Leland, Dave, even adapted to phaser fire.
Yes.
That's the fucking Borg.
And also the one thing that tinfoil hat moment that was like going, they call it control, right?
Right.
Well, what's the best way to control something?
A hive mind?
Yeah, and you assimilate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like going, after this episode, I'm like going, oh my God, my tinfoil hat just magically appeared on me, because I'm like going, it's the origins of the Borg.
You know what? When you throw enough shit at the wall, it's going to stick eventually, okay? Let's not forget your theory on the Traveler last year and Q.
And, well, you know what? It's going to work someday. It's going to work.
I think maybe we should start every season off just saying a bunch of ideas. Like, hey, look, we were right.
We were right. Finally. But what the thing that sold it to me, though, was when they injected Leland. Because I was like, going, that's a Borg thing. They injected him with nanobites.
Yeah, nanomites. Wait, is that what it is?
I think it's nanomites or nanobites.
I can't remember.
But like when they injected him and then they did that like internal shot, I'm like going, that's a Borg method. Oh, God damn it. My tinfoil hat just reappeared on my head.
It's nanites is what it is.
Nanites.
Yeah, but this isn't, I don't even think this is a tinfoil hat moment, because this is grounded, Dave. Like your theory on this is grounded in what we've seen, and it's coming about. I don't know if I like it. Like, no, let me not say that, because I do love this. I absolutely fucking love it. But I don't want to be disappointed if it's not the Borg. I know. Now. So if it's not the Borg, it needs to be something even better.
Yes.
Otherwise,
I agree.
Otherwise, I'm going to feel a bit deflated.
Because and it would actually answer one of the greatest mysteries of Star Trek is where the hell did this hive first start? That's the question that a lot of people from TNG always wondered, was like, how the heck did the Borg come about? How did they never really explained it?
Yes, they I'm aware that they've alluded to their existence being nearly, again, dude, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've alluded to their existence being nearly 1,000 years old.
Yes.
Which would put their origins within the Delta Quadrant as far back as the 1400s, if we're going by Earth years.
Yeah.
But with how they're handling time travel this year,
exactly,
they could possibly find a way to make it work. Perhaps in trying to get rid of the threat, right? Perhaps in trying to get rid of the threat, the AI is somehow thrown deep into the Delta Quadrant's past.
Yeah.
Which would not conflict with any of the Trek stories that have come before. Let's just say their plan is averted, right?
Yeah.
And the future is secure. But the AI manages to escape in Section 31's vessel and a portion of the Red Sphere's knowledge as well. This could work. Maybe knowing that their plans to destroy sentient life fails in the future, they decide to go into the past, lick their wounds, and find a new way.
Exactly.
And they realize that assimilation is the way to go. So it's kind of the opposite of what we were talking about last week. And with the new information, this theory makes more sense.
And the only I guess disappointment in my end, if they went this route, is Leland can't survive this.
Oh, and you like Leland?
Yeah, I really do. Like, when they first introduced the concept of Leland as the captain, I'm like, he's the perfect foil to Pike, where he was supposed to actually show that the Section 31, they do the dirty work that Starfleet isn't willing to actually do.
But guess who we have in his place? Giorgio
and Ash. That's the consolation, is like, for me, is like they have at least a setup to replace Leland.
Right. And you're talking about wanting that. What did you just say about Pike and Leland playing
that foil?
Right. Okay. Well, dude, we're going to have that in a show. If Ash ends up being, let's say, Giorgio's number one, right?
Yeah. You
have that built into the show. Ash is a Starfleet officer in many ways. He is the light side of the Federation, and Giorgio's more that I like to dwell in the dark. You know, that Section 31 tends to
that
like
gray
more
area, yeah.
So imagine having the two of them on a show. Also, at the same time, Dave, it brings a balance to the show, and it makes sure that the writers never go too dark when it comes to Star Trek. Because as we know, we got to have that sense of hope, right, when it comes to Star Trek.
Yeah. And I think that this episode, that's one of the things that they actually hit out of the park, was the fact that they gave us a tease of who's going to be the leads in Section 31 with Giorgio and Ash. And yeah, we might lose Leland, but we also gained this really cool villain now for season 2, which I always felt that season 1 was missing. Season 1 doesn't have that overall villain that basically we all come to dread and we want to actually see in the season finale. This season, we have Control as Leland, which is, they developed him in this episode to be really sinister.
Well, we have a definitive baddie. Whereas last season, we didn't know who the baddie was. Is it Vogue? Is it L'Rell? Is it Giorgio? Is it Lorca? Is it the Klingon Empire? What the fuck? It was frustrating trying to figure out who's doing what, and it just didn't work. Whereas this, you're right, this is a definitive baddie. This is someone that we can then say, all right, this is the bad guy, he's the threat. Now the rest of the season is going to be what? Try to track him down and figure out who or what the red signals are. Now, while you were talking, Dave, I pulled up the wiki because I couldn't remember everything. Pardon me for not remembering 50 years of Star Trek canon. But I pulled it up from the wiki just so that we are speaking factual information here about the Borg aspect. Okay, so we're backtracking just a bit.
Okay.
The origin of the Borg is never made clear.
Yes.
Though they are portrayed as having existed for hundreds of thousands of years, as attested by Guinan, your girlfriend.
Yes.
And the Borg Queen. In Star Trek First Contact, the Borg Queen merely states that the Borg were once much like humanity, flawed and weak. See, that kind of throws a wrench, but maybe they viewed themselves as flawed and weak as being essentially a device for humans.
Yeah.
Being control, so they can make that work. but gradually developed into a partially synthetic species in an ongoing attempt to evolve and perfect themselves. Okay, so also it goes on to say in TNG, the episode Q Who, Guinan mentions that the Borg are made up of organic and artificial life, which has been developing for thousands of centuries. In the later episode of Star Trek Voyager, Dragon's Teeth, Gedrin of the race Vadwar, I think I'm saying that correctly, says that before he and his people were put into suspended animation 892 years earlier, around 1482. Okay, so that's where I got that from. So, yeah. All right, so the Borg had assimilated only a few colonies in the Delta Quadrant and were considered essentially a minor nuisance. Now awake in the 24th century, he was amazed to see that the Borg control a vast area of the Delta Quadrant. 7 of 9 comments that the Borg's collective memories of that time period are fragmentary, though it is never established why that is. Well, they can easily explain that now. What if they find a way to wipe the memory of humans from Leland's mind, and then they send them someplace? Well, they can't destroy him for some reason, so they send him into the past, way far away into the Delta Quadrant. Yeah.
And then basically, at that point, Leland is essentially the origin of
God
the
damn
Borg.
it. Fuck, that's good. I mean, Star Trek Discovery episode. Oh, look, the wiki already updated to talk about. Okay, I'm going to read it. The Star Trek Discovery episode, Perpetual Infinity, may hint that the Borg is actually an accidental creation of Section 31. So the Star Trek wiki is already updated with this theory.
That is awesome.
Dude, so a lot of Trek fans are all on the same page. Fuck,
my tinfoil hat was proven.
Look at you, Dave. You may prove yourself to be a better Star Trek fan than I.
1 out of 3 isn't bad. I still say Q could show up.
I still disagree with you about Guinan being hot.
We don't know what's underneath those cloaks, dude.
Oh, I do.
Don't know. Could be a big booty and big...
Okay, listen. Let's just stop. All right, so let's go to a very quick break, and you can gloat and jerk yourself off if you'd like, and we'll be right back in just a few moments here.
Imagine a race of beings possessed of one mind, driven by one will, intent on one purpose: to seize our past and control our future.
Set a course for Earth. Maximum warp.
Yes! What are you looking at, nerd? Huh?
I thought I was looking at my mother's old douchebag, but that's in Ohio.
Geek Out Saturdays.
And then, like, ants eat your remains. Like, those books got real dark.
For kids.
Or like one of them, like you get...
The fact that Marvel's been doing it for 10 years doesn't mean it's easy.
Hold on, though. Take Marvel out of the equation and forget that they don't even exist. Television has been doing this for decades.
And I stumbled upon it while I was hunting alligators. And this guy starts whistling at you. He beckons you. So I thought it was a mission, like a side mission. So I went, and then I realized what it was when it was too late. Yeah. I walked in, the guy starts...
And that's how they go out. Like, because the rebirth, when they ditched the New 52, because the New 52, they weren't always on the best of terms, they're back together, or, you know, they end up getting back together because they feel something they don't know. They just feel like the universe is pulling them together.
Catch up on your favorite Rain Man digital geek shows every Saturday. DC on CW, Back to Tank, Weird West Radio, The Crossroads, and more. Geek Out Saturday on Rain Man Channel 001.
Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff that will spice up your bedroom is even better. Just go to adamandeve.com and select almost any one item for 50% off, and then we'll load on the free stuff. Just enter this very exclusive code, RAINMAN, at checkout, and you'll get 10 tantalizing free gifts, including a sexy item for him, a special toy for her, and a third item you'll both enjoy. And 6 extra special bonus items that are sure to rev your engine, pique your curiosity, and even blow you away. Plus, free shipping. Always sent in discreet packaging. Go to adamandeve.com now. Get 50% off plus the 10 free gifts when you enter the exclusive offer code RAINMAN. Again, that's RAINMAN. Because without it, no free stuff. That's RAINMAN at adamandeve.com.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to Star Trek From the Holodeck, the Discovery Edition. We've got a lot to get through, but first, remember, you can always find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. Just search Star Trek From the Holodeck. I know a lot of people tend to be going back to our site upon analysis and breakdown of our traffic from Star Trek Discovery shows, Dave. A lot of people are just, the same people are going back to our site to listen to the show, which is fine if that's how you prefer to listen, but you can also take us on the go anywhere you want to go on your mobile device. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. All right, so Burnham's mother is a hot mess.
Wow.
I mean, it makes sense. Imagine knowing literally everything and seeing the people you love die over and over, which has been her entire life for what, the past, what was it, 20 some years?
Yeah. It basically is a way of destroying hope. The whole point about her character, which I found really intriguing, was the fact that it's a character who basically has given up hope. And that's how it really does feel, because she's tried I think she said like 800, over 800 times.
No. That was 800, I think, log entries.
Log entries?
Yeah.
And she can't stop the apocalypse from happening. And it's like, yeah, you would lose hope after a while.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I probably would have lost hope after the 10th time of watching my child die. I'm like, I'm not going to go back in time again and have to live through that pain
again. Yeah.
And the thing that sucks is, I mean, it's a beautiful story, man. It's just heart-wrenching, but imagine getting callous. That's even the worst part about it. What if
that's what you
actually grow callous and you become used to seeing your daughter die? I mean, how fucked up is that? Even for the person doing it, like, you can't help but grow callous when you continually see something over and over and over. And then imagine the guilt that you may feel. Like, shit, it doesn't even bother me anymore that I'm witnessing my child's death over and over and over.
And people might think that that's melodramatic or something, but no, that is actually true mental breakdown.
Yeah.
That's a true mental breakdown. You normally have to cope. As humans, we have to cope with certain things. And yes, part of coping is actually becoming callous to it or being numb to it.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I thought their portrayal of her mom was fantastic. I thought
what a great casting job. I mean, she looks exactly like Sonequa Martin Green,
yeah.
if she got older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with that actress because she was able to convey, just like what we were saying, is like a person who truly has seen their daughter die time and time again and can't stop.
Dude, that's an awful destiny. Can you imagine? That's just awful.
It is.
Yeah.
It truly is. That's why it was interesting that seeing Burnham's reaction to that and trying to tell her mom to have hope.
Sonia So, I believe is how you say her name. Sonia Son.
But Burnham tried to tell her mom to have hope. And it was like falling on deaf ears because she's like going, you know how many times you've said this? And she basically puts it into a bubble that basically says, I've seen this hundreds of times.
And she's seen it hundreds of times. Did she see herself getting caught? You didn't, did you? We caught you. We did something different. Hey, Dave, adjust that pop filter just a bit. Bring it back. Yeah, because you're popping your peas.
How's that?
Yeah, popping peas.
Popping peas.
There you go.
Popping peas.
It was definitely heart-wrenching, especially being a parent. I can only imagine. But the reunion between Burnham and her mom was definitely heart-touching. But being the TV writing fanatic I am, I was more drawn to the aspect of what this will do for our characters. How will this emotional aspect turn into a way to progress the story of our characters?
Yeah.
I've been saying all season, since we learned of the Section 31 spinoff, that the writers will have to do a repair job on Georgiou, right? She was the emperor of the Terran Empire, for fuck's sake. Why should we care about someone like this besides the fact that she's a badass? Well, it happened this week. The reason why this whole scene that I'm about to get into worked is because this is how you stay true to the original characterizations without derailing what has been set up and become essentially a part of their genetic makeup as characters. It's who they are. And to suddenly have this Terran Empire Georgiou, oh, I'm a good guy now. Like, what? You were eating Kelpians and murdering people, mass genocide, and now we suddenly are going to get someone who's good. She's turned over a leaf. But the way they did it, for example, the AI using Georgiou's Terran roots and lust for power as a way to manipulate her, and we witnessed Georgiou choose the right decision. But it was a change of heart. She's not necessarily a good person, but think about how they did it. Because if they were to make her just have a change of heart, it would make her feel weak. I would say that's some weak ass writing. Firstly, no one is going to manipulate her. Okay, we know that about her character.
She's the one that manipulates. She's
exactly
the one that is manipulated.
Exactly. She's a woman of sound mind and complete fucking confidence. It's hard to manipulate anyone with her amount of resolve. And when you try to manipulate someone like that, it will always backfire because they are well aware of what you are doing. Also, another thing that made sense is the love she has for Burnham. She cares for her. She is, in many ways, that's her daughter. She raised her in the MU universe, or a version of her. And I know there are some people out there who are detached pieces of shit who would say, oh, it's not the same. It's not her daughter. I wouldn't give two shits. I'm like, okay, imagine your child died. And now you see essentially the same person suddenly pop up from another universe. You're saying you're not going to care and love that person just as much? Yeah, they're not going to necessarily replace your lost loved ones, but you will find yourself drawn to that very person.
Yeah.
And that was made clear in the best way possible, and not from her mouth, but through Dr. Burnham. It wouldn't have worked if Georgiou spilt her heart out and told us how she felt about Burnham. First off, Michelle Yeoh is just a fantastic actor, so you could see it already in every scene. Her body language, the way she emotes, everything backs up the fact that she cares for Burnham. She cares about her in almost every aspect. And when they had Dr. Burnham say she saw the future, and in that future, she has essentially sacrificed herself over and over for Burnham. And Georgiou was taken back and said, I think you have me confused. And she's all, no, I know who you are. So that, Dave, not only does it work from a practical standpoint for story purposes, but it also aids in repairing her character in the audience's eyes.
Yeah.
Which needed to be done if she's to be a character that we are going to continue to watch on another show.
And it makes it really an interesting side note to this is like, it really brings up the question, okay, what are the differences between the mirror universes then? Because if we're saying that Georgiou still, by far, is a good person down inside of her, so what's the difference between her in the mirror universe and her in Terran? And yeah, it
life.
Brings up the life.
It's just life, which I feel this works better, Dave. And yes, I'm still going to go back to our Patreon discussions. And if people want to get an in-depth breakdown of the mirror universe, we do, what was it, like a 6 or 7 part?
It's 6.
Discussion where we break down the intricacies of the mirror universe and what it really means for the show. You guys can go to patreon.com/RainmanDigital and pledge to our podcast here, which is $5 a month, and you gain access to a bunch of past shows and, of course, shows that we do continually for just Patreon subscribers. But we've gone back and forth time and time again, Dave, about what the mirror universe really is. Is it a philosophical aspect to? Is it a philosophical writing tool to show destinies and how things are intertwined? Right?
Yes.
Well, now this kind of fixes some issues that I've always had with the mirror universe. I love the mirror universe, don't get me wrong, but when I was younger, but as I grew up and I understood, the nuances of writing and story development, I had real big problems with it because you can't just have an angry Kirk like we saw. Oh, I'm mean. Why? Well, in the mirror universe, I'm just mean. Well, why though? Like, what happened to your life? What made you this way?
Exactly.
And what Discovery's doing with that is they're explaining and expanding it on a bit better. They're not just different people because in this universe, people are bad. Something happened. It's a fucked up existence. It's no different, Dave, than let's say you had a clone, right?
Yeah.
And your clone was raised in what's a really terrible country right now? Well, let's say you grew up in the Philippines, Dave, and you witness atrocities to people. Okay, so let's say you grew up, and the way you grew up turned you to Islam, radical Islam. But then you have this David here that grew up in the States who had a better outlook on life because he had better life experiences.
Yes.
That's the difference. And now they are fleshing that idea out much better when it comes to Georgiou, because Georgiou is still the Georgiou of our universe, the prime universe here.
Yeah.
But life circumstances has turned her into what she is in the mirror universe. But she's still she's still Georgiou at her core.
At her core, exactly.
And now that's starting to come out. And that's the genius behind Discovery's decision to tackle the mirror universe. They're making that aspect less superficial and giving it more substance rather than saying, hey, in that universe, we're all mean and evil. But why? We just are.
We just are.
Yeah. All right. So poor Pike, dude. Like his face when Dr. Burnham said that she knows his fate and he wouldn't like it. I was like, oh, come on. Why do you got to do that to him?
And it's like, oh, we all know. And it's not very it's not very lovely.
No, not at all. But Dave, I
feel really sad.
I'm so torn. I know they can't change his fate, but poop. It really sucks.
It really sucks.
I mean,
because I'm like going, oh, can we save him somehow? No, we can't, because then it changes the cage.
Yeah, and getting to know a character and knowing there's nothing that can really be done about it, like saving him. I mean, it's rough, man.
It is.
It's rough because they've never done this to any of. I don't think they've ever done this with any of our characters. Building a character up and we already know his fate. I'm like, Jesus, we love this guy and there's no rescuing him because it has to happen.
The only thing I could take away from that is at least we know that his fate, he ends up in that chair. But by the end of the cage, he ends up with Vala.
Yeah, Dave, but yes, that's all, great. I'm glad you found the silver lining in being disfigured, but you're still disfigured. You're living in La La Land, David.
But is it? That's the bigger question that
okay, now you're getting all philosophical on me here.
No, because what season 2 did for the cage is amazing when you take a look at it.
No, I like it, but it was okay when we didn't really know Pike.
Well, we didn't.
Now
know Pike.
I'm like, I mean, Dave, would you want to live in La La Land if you knew that it's all fucking fake?
Is it though? Because to them, it's not. It's physical. Literally, everything is physical. So.
You're not wrong. I mean, I guess from a Star Trek philosophical aspect, you can say what is real.
What is real to them? Because at the end of the day, the only problem with that is Pike can never leave that planet. He can't. That's it. He's stuck there.
But because of the powers that those aliens have, they have the ability to pretty much create any life he wants.
So,
but will that be enough? Would that be enough for someone knowing that none of this really is physically real?
That's the problem.
You know what, Dave? This calls for a show that we may have to do during Discovery's break.
You brought up the question if I would be happy with that. It took me a while to actually think about this because I actually thought about this. And at the end of the day, I would be very thankful to Spock if I was Pike. Because
it's
I'm with the woman that I've loved all my life.
Well, did he really love her? I mean, he did have a thing for, I think, number 1 as well.
No. Because
I would choose. Oh man, that'd be a hard choice.
Yeah,
number 1.
We've stated number 1 and him aren't like that relationship. It's more or less kind of like a colleague.
Didn't they call her out though in the pilot? In the cage, didn't they? I have to go back and watch it, but
we have to watch it again.
I think they had alluded to the fact that she had feelings for him, but she knows that it can never happen because of their positions on board the ship. Is that what it was?
I think. I don't know.
We'd have to you know what? I'm getting that confused with a Kirk episode. Never mind. You're right. I'm wrong. Look at you, Dave, being right.
I'm right about the Borg.
Yeah, but that whole aspect about, Pike's, I was about to call him poop. That whole aspect of about Pike's fate.
It really brings it to question. And it's split. When you look at Star Trek fans, a lot of them are split because a lot of them don't want him to end up like that now.
Yeah, well, it is.
But others are like going, well, he's happy. So it is a happy ending.
Some people are happy putting their head in the sand, right, Dave?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that train driver that took all the poor Jews to the Nazi concentration camps also liked putting his head in the sand as well. Let's see. We all know how that turned out.
They're just going to get the shower.
Yes, papers. But that aspect with Pike is one of the reasons that the Star Trek film Generations irked me. Okay, the whole idea that Kirk's destiny leads him to being trapped in the Nexus for eternity. It always see, when I was a kid and I watched it, I loved it. I was like, yeah, Kirk, awesome. But then as an adult, when I understand Star Trek so much better and what they do with and what they're doing with the show and what it's about, in retrospect, I'm like, I don't like that. You're telling me that Kirk spent his whole entire existence saving people, the entire universe, and it ends for him abruptly when he's trying to save people's life and he's trapped in a Nexus in essentially a time loop of sorts.
In a time loop that is basically the point where he is the happiest.
Yeah, which is a lot like Pike's destiny.
What's Pike's destiny?
But see, dude, it's just a weird thing, man. It bothered me when they did it, or years later after they did it, but yeah, that's just my own little Star Trek nitpick there, Dave.
No, it's not. It's just not a nitpick. It's a really valid question because it's kind of like we want our heroes to. I don't know.
I think Kirk deserved better.
Yeah, you want to expect the better happy ending for all of our captains, like Janeway. Janeway ended up pretty much getting the best ending out of all the captains. If you think about it.
Yeah, she became an admiral and got to grow old.
Grow old and basically just had a normal life.
Well, we don't know about Cisco.
Cisco became a prophet. He disappeared.
Yeah,
he ascended to something. We have no idea.
But who knows? He may have like 50,000 virgins, at his beck and call. Who knows?
He ascended to some like enlightenment. And then actually, if you think about it, Cisco kind of went the same way as Kirk and Pike because he went into a happy place that basically is going to eternally make him happy.
But that was him ascending into something else, But all right, we can talk about this forever. Let's get back on track.
This is a totally separate show we can do.
And we got to get back on track. So all right, let's talk about the red signals. Dave, what are they?
God, I have no clue now.
Now, the Red Angel ended up being something far more grounded than we had originally expected. Do you think the red signals are something less grounded? Could the red signals be something more deeply connected to Spock? Because we must remember, Spock did predict the signals before they appeared. Not the Red Angel, the signals. Now, we've all just assumed they were connected, and it was made very clear that Dr. Burnham had no idea what Pike was talking about.
Yeah. That was the thing that was a big surprise. For me, the big twist in the story so far is the fact that the Red Angel has no idea what the red signals are.
Yeah.
And automatically my brain jumped, well, then would it be the AI then that's doing the red signals? But that wouldn't make no sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure they can make it make sense, but I don't know. I feel like it has something
It has to do with Spock.
It has to be directly connected to Spock at this point, because now we understand Spock's importance, right? Now, when it comes to the Red Angel and why the Red Angel appeared to them, that was made clear in this episode.
Yes.
And that works. But let's go through, before we can theorize, let's go through everything we've seen so far when it comes to the Red Angel and the red signals, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's see here. I have it here. All right, so Spock predicted the signals before they appeared. In order to cope with recurring nightmares as a child, Spock learned to draw, and that skill had served him well. Those horrific dreams returned in adulthood, and Spock sketched what turned out to be the 7 red signals 2 months prior to their appearance in space, giving Burnham her first clue to unlocking the head-scratching mystery, right?
Yes.
Okay, next, the Red Angel mystery has broken Spock's brain. Season 2 finds Spock unable to decipher what those Red Angel visions mean, and that has essentially broken his brain. Taking several months off from serving as Pike's first officer aboard the USS Enterprise, he secretly checked himself into a psychiatric facility on Starbase 5. He's had an experience, they said, with the Red Angel that kind of pushed him beyond logic. All right, then we know it's somehow connected to the red signals. The USS Discovery locked in on one of the signals. This took them all the way to the Earth-like planet New Eden, where a group of soldiers were rescued by that mysterious Red Angel 2 years ago. Now, that's another thing, Dave. We have no idea why the Red Angel went back 200 years.
Well, no.
Was it addressed? Did I miss that?
She did. She did address that because she was trying to figure out how she could actually teleport someone from another time and implant them onto another one, and she was able to do it.
So she wanted to try to secure life by bringing life to another planet.
To another planet, yeah.
Okay.
And she was.
I missed that part.
It was one of her experiments to try to avert the apocalypse.
That's right. Okay. But the red signal appeared there. That's how the Discovery got there, correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So we have now the signals with the help from the Red Angel led to people in need. The signals are virtually unreadable, but when a Starfleet ship does trace one of their locations, it often leads to someone in need of assistance. Discovery tracked one of the signals to an asteroid carrying the USS Hiawatha, a medical rig that crash-landed during the Klingon War. We already went through that.
Yep.
And the crew also found the New Eden settlers through a new signal and realized the planet was just over an hour away from a nuclear winter before figuring out a way to save everyone. That's what we know so far when it comes to the red signals.
Yes.
Because so that's going to be the mystery moving forward into these last 3 episodes.
Yeah, because we went into the assumption that the Red Angel and the signals are all one and the same. Now they're saying basically they're completely different mysteries, and now we have to actually go and do like a rewind on the red signals and say, what do we know about the red signals?
Yeah,
and the only thing that basically ties the red signals everything together is the fact that it's tied to Spock.
Yeah.
I think we're not done with that suit yet.
Because, yeah, for sure.
That suit went far into the future. We all know that.
We also have to remember Calypso, Dave. The Short Treks episode where Discovery's chilling in the future.
Yeah.
Which also creates some contradictions, Dave, because we already know Discovery saves the day, right?
Yes.
Because sentient life exists, what was it, 3,000, 4,000 years into the future?
Exactly. So they've had to have actually succeeded.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into a live read, and then we're going to change direction of this discussion.
Before our heads explode.
We need to, because we're just kind of, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. There's not enough to go on anymore with these 7 signals. All right, so patreon.com/RainmanDigital, pledge $5 or more a month and gain access to additional Star Trek from the Holodeck discussions, ranging from book reviews of your latest and greatest Star Trek novels, comic books. We're going to be jumping into the Captain Saru Discovery Annual. We got a whole line of things to get into during the summertime, during the break from Discovery. So head over to patreon.com/RainmanDigital and pledge, and you will gain access to more Star Trek shows from David and I every single month.
I just realized something, Mike. Does this mean that my Q theory might still be out there?
Wait, how?
7 signals. We don't know what they are.
Stop. Don't even try it.
Don't even try it.
Okay, so let's talk about Dr. Colbert. He can't just be okay. Was this resurrection just to bring him back into the show? Because the other showrunners killed him off because of the outcry on social media for killing off a gay character. Because there was. I will be a little frustrated if there are no repercussions due to his rebirth. We also know, of course, Tilly's connection to the mycelial network, and I'm sure all of that could connect. And the way the writers are writing this year, I find it hard to believe that this situation is as straightforward as it seems now with Dr. Colbert. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the character. I'm way hardcore drawn to him. He's interesting. He has an aura and a presence, the actor that plays him. I forget his name. I apologize. Wilson Cruz. I apologize, Wilson Cruz. He's a great actor. He has great screen presence. I would love to see him do more on the show. But he cannot have been brought back just simply because of fan outcry. I dig him. I do, but characters cannot have armor like this. It's a form of plot armor, Dave. And, some people may not know what plot armor is, but it's basically an informal term referring to a character's unusual ability to survive infinite damage due to their importance to the story.
Yeah, I honestly feel that Colbert's story is not done yet.
Okay, I hope so, because I do see so many shows doing things like this today. It's only a matter of time before literary texts are updated with terms like social media armor or fan armor or even gay armor. And none of this should be a thing. No. A character should only be in a show because he's relevant to the story, not because he's black, Mexican, Filipino, gay, heterosexual, a hillbilly, a Trump supporter. I don't give a fuck. He has to be relevant to the show. And we cannot make characters have armor because we don't want to kill off a gay character. Because that's, if you remember, dude, there was some fucking outcry.
Oh, there was a lot of
during season 1. Oh, you killed the gay couple. Why would you destroy that? And I was just like, listen, guys, it isn't about having gay people. It's not about that. It's about the show. And yes, I understand representation matters to a lot of people. But bottom line, it's about the story.
It's about the story and it's about the characters.
Yes.
If it works for the characters. That's why.
No, don't get me wrong, Dave. Like I said, I truly do dig Dr. Colbert. Yeah. But I know we have a lot going on. And that's why I said at the top of the show, Dave, I have a feeling that this season's immediate myth arc will have resolve. Yes, absolutely. But I don't think it's going to end all tidy like the way they ended last season.
No. I think it'll carry on into season 3.
Yes, I think there's going to be some big question marks. And I'm hoping a lot of them have to do with Colbert. I'm hoping a lot of them have to do with Tilly's connection to the mycelial network, as well as Colbert's. And, of course, the Section 31's control as well, possibly being the origins of the Borg.
I honestly think that basically we've been saying that they're setting up Section 31. They have to set up that spin-off series. And they set it up with showing our 2 leads, which is Tyler and Georgiou. But I honestly feel that there's more characters that are going to jump from Discovery to Section 31. And I think Colbert or even Stamets might actually jump.
And what do you base that on?
Solely because, like, the whole story about Stamets and Colbert is the fact that they need to
time away. That's what Colbert wants. He wants to get away from Stamets just to actually figure himself out at this point. Yeah.
The best way to do that is to actually remove him from the show, speaking on like a production standpoint, remove him from the show, put him on a different show, much like what they did with characters in the past of TNG. They did it with Worf. They did it with O'Brien. They did it with all sorts of characters that basically said, okay, we had a story arc of him start in this series, but we're going to bring him over here now. That's what I think is going to happen to either Colbert or Stamets. Is one of them is going to go over to Section 31.
I think you're getting a little overconfident with your ability to predict things, Dave. So calm down.
Well, see, I'm thinking.
Listen, Mike, I was right about the Borg. I'm just saying. So,
but going back to the Colbert,
there's
thing?
now an arrogant confidence to the way you say things. Well, I think Colbert. Go fuck yourself, Michael.
But going back to what you were saying about Colbert, I'm glad you brought it up. Was like, it took me off guard. Was like, wait a minute. Last episode, we just saw him like literally like broken. Suddenly, he's like, I'm in this white uniform,
but
now. I'm all perfect.
But I will say this: I did like how they used his issues as a way to help Burnham move past her problems this episode.
Yes, because it's tied to the narrative.
And yes, and Colbert even called it out, saying, hey, listen, I know I've been wearing this suit again for a whole 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
But he offered sound advice. So that worked as well. And I like that they did use things that we know Colbert's going through as a way to help progress the story and help our lead character work through some issues. And that was fucking solid as hell. I do like that. I love when they don't. You can't forget what a character's going through.
Yeah.
Especially this ordeal that Colbert is in fact going through. I mean, I'm sure he has to be struggling with some form of PTSD when you think about it. The guy,
he has to.
The guy died, remembers his death, and then was reborn in some weird alien type cocoon. I mean, there's got to be some issues, and he also feels like he's not the same person. So the way they used his character this week definitely worked for me. I'm just hoping he's more because I like him, and I'm hoping he becomes more relevant, specifically because they gave him such a great platform to be more relevant with his resurrection.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't want him being brought back just because he's a gay dude. That would be silly.
That'd be silly, and I think that'd be so against Star Trek code.
And also, Dave, like I said, I don't think that's the case. I'm not saying that is. I'm saying I don't think that's the case because the writers this season are fucking on point, and I don't see them doing something like that. All right, Dave. So let's move into our final thoughts. Go for it.
Final thoughts on this episode. I actually liked this episode. This episode was very strong. It continued the narrative, and it pushed the narrative forward to the point where now I want to see where they're going with the last 3 episodes.
Wait, you didn't want to see the last 3 episodes before?
I was getting worried. You got to remember, coming off of season 1, the time
your heart was broken before.
Yeah, I was like you. What we spoke about before was like, okay, by season 11 we were burnt out. Now,
by season 11, are you going into the future?
By season 1, episode 11, we were burnt out.
Yeah.
This episode now has me really curious where they're going. If the Red Angel's not tied to the signals, who the hell has been sending the signals?
Yeah.
And then
the Q continuum, Dave.
I'm telling you, it's still out there, Mike. It's still out there.
Why would they do that? Why would they give a fuck about us?
Because Q cares about humanity.
Okay, sure he does.
But so I think that basically this was a really strong episode, and it shows the difference between night and day of season 1 and season 2. And up to this point, dude, I am really impressed with the writing team this season.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
They know how to develop characters, keep the narrative tight, and use that development to push your narrative forward. It sounds like it should be easy as a writer, but it's not. Many writers have tried this. Many writers have failed. But when you see it happen, like what they're doing this season, it's magical, dude. Like, I honestly feel that this might be the best Star Trek season we've had in all of Star Trek for a while. Because you got to remember, we went through Enterprise. Enterprise picked up by season 4. But even then, those seasons were not as strong as this. And that's saying a lot.
All right. Good episode. I'm loving it. Just like I said at the top of the show today, it's not growing tiresome. Like I felt towards the end of the first season. With all these things of like, okay, what's going on here? What are they going to do with this? All right, so what's the show really about? We know what the show's about. We know who the show's about. We can see a clear direction. We don't know everything, and we shouldn't. And I'm really fucking happy with everything they're doing in this show. So definitely an A episode yet again. All right, Dave, so this concludes our discussion this week on Star Trek Discovery, Perpetual Infinity. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you miss any part of this broadcast, past or present, you can find us on Stitcher and iTunes. Just search, no, not just Stitcher and iTunes, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Just search Star Trek From the Holodeck. Leave us reviews, give us thumbs up. If you guys want to debate and discuss some things with us, you can find us on Twitter at From the Holodeck. Also on Facebook, where we spend most of our time. Facebook.com/Star Trek From the Holodeck. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, David.
And live long and prosper.
I couldn't help but notice your pain. My pain? It runs deep. Share it with me.
End simulation.